This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
This week on Off the Record, North Carolina says K through 8 kids and teachers will need a mask in class this fall, but in high school, maybe not, if you've already had a shot. And as COVID cases spike statewide, local hospitals tell their workers vaccines are now required. What about other big local employers? Also, if you're losing your home because of COVID, Mecklenburg considers more restrictions on local evictions. Charlotte also makes a top 10 list we'd rather not be on this week, especially if you're trying to buy a house. Plus, why can't Charlotte City Council members just get along? More gates, more jobs for Charlotte's biggest airline, and the Rolling Stones are coming to town after all, and pretty soon, too. Lots to talk about next on PBS Charlotte. And from our PBS Charlotte studios in historic Plaza Midwood, I'm Jeff Sonnier, and we're off the record talking about the stories you've been talking about this week. And if you watch the news, read the news, and listen to the news, well, you'll recognize the names and faces around our virtual table. Eli Portillo from UNC Charlotte's Urban Institute, Mark Becker from WSOC TV, Danielle Shemtob from Axios Charlotte, and Tony Messia from the Charlotte Ledger. You can also join the conversation at home. Just email your questions and comments to offtherecord at WTVI.org. Thanks for joining us this week, group. And let's start off with, I guess, COVID news. There's so much of it to kind of cover at the start here. I want to touch base on the schools first. A lot of parents have been waiting to hear what the school system wants to do going forward this fall. We heard from the governor this week suggesting that all school systems require masks for some kids, not require them for others. Thoughts on the governor's announcement this week and what that's going to look like come the school year this fall? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key word there, Jeff, is suggestion. I mean, I think he was just saying, listen, they've laid out some rules, they've laid out some guidelines. It's going to be up to the individual school districts to decide, which direction they want to go. And you're seeing school districts make different choices on that. You're seeing Union County saying, hey, we're going to make mask optional. In CMS, I think it would be, I don't see there's any way that they're going to say you don't have to wear a mask, but a lot of this is still to be decided.
Yeah, I mean, I think on some level, Tony, you're right. The governor essentially passed the buck on this one and is letting the battle being fought, to let the battle be fought within districts. And I mean, that's probably wise. It's, Ashe County is going to be different than Mecklenburg County, rural versus urban. And so you're going to have these divisions and splits. And, the concern of one of the parents I talked with, who said we absolutely need to mask in middle school and elementary school, is that those kids aren't old enough to get the vaccine yet. And I think that's sort of proven to be the real game changer, right? Whether or not you get the vaccine. I mean, the fact is the data shows that those who are vaccinated aren't 100%. Nothing is 100%, but they're pretty close, protected. So, until they get the vaccine, this parent was concerned that her child who is immunocompromised, and certainly some of the teachers who are there aren't safe. So I think Mecklenburg County will probably still have the mask, at least at the lower age group. We'll see, but going county by county is probably not a bad call.
Eli?
I think it does set up for this to be kind of the next flashpoint at a lot of school board meetings. Over the coming weeks, I think we're going to see a lot of probably impassioned arguments on both sides, and having it play out across more than 100 school districts in North Carolina will definitely set up some of that. At the same time, I think it's all going to change again when you have the vaccine approved for younger children, possibly sometime this winter. Then we're going to have a whole different calculus, and we haven't talked about vaccine mandates yet. That is probably also going to be an emotional issue for a lot of parents, because there are people who are wary of giving this to their kids, and that's a decision that they're going to face in the coming months. And will schools require it? I think that will be even more of a controversy in some senses than masks.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're seeing a spike in COVID cases statewide, 3,000 new cases last week, 600 new hospitalizations, and it's that variant that apparently is that kids are more susceptible to now. So that's another consideration, I suppose. If the kids are more susceptible to this newest version of the virus and they're not vaccinated, I guess that opens the door to risk for the teachers in the classroom as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, as usual, that these individual school systems, I guess, are going to have to deal with. We're all going to have to deal with, as parents, as employees, as folks living our lives, right now.
There's also the factor of disruptions. It's extremely disruptive when schools are canceled, when individual classes are canceled. So, I think that there will be a lot of pressure on school districts this coming year to keep in-person instruction going and not have the disruptions to the same degree we've been having for the last year and a half.
Yeah, and we're hearing from employers now. Yesterday, we heard from the hospitals requiring all their employees and everyone basically on campus at the hospitals to have a vaccine in order to work there. And this is going to be coming in the next couple of weeks and months. Businesses approaching this differently. Bank of America bringing folks back, Belk folks keeping folks at home. From a business point of view, how difficult is it, trying to, maneuver, and how much are businesses watching each other to see what different employers are doing and what works and what doesn't work, depending on what the nature of your business really is and how much being there in person really makes a difference?
I think businesses are really hesitant to require it. Other than Novant and Atrium, I can't think of any major employer in town that's actually requiring it. It's, for the most part, just suggested or strongly recommended. And, that includes like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Duke. But I think that the biggest thing, first of all, it is legal for them to mandate it as long as they have like religious exemptions and things like that. But I think a lot of businesses are really afraid of the legal repercussions.
Yeah, and the other point, that's a good point
that
Danielle makes, but I think the other piece of that is not just the legal part. I did talk to some employment lawyers this week with the Charlotte Ledger, told us that, yes, that's an important consideration, and it's employers generally don't want to get into this minefield of asking their employees about their religious beliefs or their healthcare issues and what some of those exceptions might be. But the other piece of it is that we're in a tight labor market right now. And so it's hard, if you have a subset of employees that doesn't want to take the vaccine, they can just go somewhere else. They could go work for a competitor. So that's another factor here. And the hospitals doing this, you see that they coordinated this this announcement this week so that they, you maybe take away some of that effect if all the major hospitals are requiring it of their employees.
Yeah, you can't just run across the street. But I mean, the hospital thing in particular, I think, is different than every other, because if not hospitals, where, right? And there was that case in Texas where an employee sued because they were being required to get the vaccine, and the courts found for the hospitals and said, yeah, you can compel them to get the vaccine. And I'm sure that was part of the calculus here. But, you're working in a hospital. It just seems like they, being the hospitals, have good reason to require everyone to have vaccines. It's a little different than our business, for example, where they're strongly encouraging us. But it makes sense, I guess, on some level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes absolute common sense, and it's hard to imagine a setting where you would want people more to be vaccinated than in a healthcare setting, especially where they're dealing with vulnerable populations. We've seen mostly, these incentive or strong encouragement approaches so far. We've heard of companies offering cash, offering the chance to be entered in drawings for prizes for their employees if they get vaccinated. I think that will continue. And, frankly, I think we could probably expect to see greater cash rewards and more incentives, because as long as you're hesitant to mandate it, but you still have an incentive to get everyone back and keep your operations going, you need to kind of increase the carrot if you're not going to use the stick.
Yeah, I mentioned.
So we should hold on and wait for greater incentives. Is that what you're saying? No, I mean, nobody's really saying that, but it's, you're seeing a lot of incentives now. You're seeing this lottery from the state. I mean, it's really the carrot is getting to be a lot of carrots.
Yeah. Bank of America, as I mentioned, they're bringing vaccinated employees back sooner rather than later. But I thought the Belk example was interesting, where Belk is literally closing their corporate offices, leasing the space, and going predominantly remote. That's their phrase on what their corporate offices will look like in the future. I guess that's another example of another alternative that some of these employers might take when it comes to not just making employees happy and continuing to be efficient, but also saving some money in the process.
Yeah, and a lot of these companies are wrestling with a tight labor market and the fact that they have two kinds of employees. Belk, Bank of America, a lot of these companies, they have corporate employees who can continue to work remote in a lot of cases, but they run bank branches, they run department stores. There's no remote option if you're stocking a department store. So that is another consideration that I think a lot of these companies are wrestling with, not just vaccine mandates, but how are they dealing with this remote work issue and equity across different labor classes in this tight labor market.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what Tony was talking about earlier as well, that a lot of employees would not want to go back to the office at all. I mean, there have been studies done that a certain percentage of employees would quit their jobs if they had to go back to the office. You know, employees got used to the flexibility of working from home. And so I think there's also some hesitance to completely take away that flexibility. You know, I know some employers are saying you can come back or maybe come back a couple days a week, but I think that part of the hesitance to bringing people back 9 to 5, 5 days a week is also just that employees might find somewhere where they can be more flexible.
Yeah. I know one last thing about COVID I want to touch on, and it was your story this week, Danielle, about the suggestion that locally there should be an extension of the moratorium on evictions to make up for those expiring moratoriums at the state and federal level. A lot of folks still facing challenges in staying in their homes with COVID and being off the job and not getting a paycheck, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was an estimate recently from a group at USC in Southern California and another nonprofit that has this data tracker. And I was looking at it the other day. It says around 28,000 people are behind on rent in Mecklenburg. Now, we don't know if all those people are going to get evicted, but if even a fraction of those people get evicted, August 1st, that's a huge wave of people. A typical year, and Eli, your organization looked at this a couple of years ago, a typical year has around 30,000 eviction notices. And so if we have 28,000 people right now who are behind on rent, I mean, that's a pretty scary number. So yeah, Alma Adams, essentially representative for much of Charlotte, she wants to have local officials institute a ban here in Mecklenburg County. It's unclear who exactly has the authority to do that. There was a statewide ban as well, but that already expired beginning of July. And now this CDC moratorium is expiring in about a week.
Yeah, and moratoriums aren't forever, but it does at least provide those folks who are struggling with, an opportunity to kind of get back on their feet as well. And I know that some of the agencies that deal with the folks that are facing eviction, they wonder what happens to them with this deluge, if you will, of applications and applicants that don't have anywhere else to go without that moratorium to help them get through this, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, another issue that everyone's struggling with as we kind of make our way through this whole COVID pandemic that is not quite over yet, I guess. I want to talk a little bit about our housing market, and in particular the list we don't want to be on. It's the LendingTree list that puts us in the top 10 of least affordable markets for first-time home buyers. I guess if you read the news or look at the headlines or are buying a house, this is not a surprise to anybody, right?
No, I mean, we've continued to see inventory just nosedive here in the Charlotte market, not just in Mecklenburg County, but across the region. And, that's really been going on for a few years, and those pressures have compounded. We've got a big shortage of inventory, just about 3 weeks or so of supply on the market. Typical balanced market, agents tell you, is somewhere around 4 to 6 months. So we're at close to all-time lows in the number of houses for sale. Demand has stayed high. Closed sales continue to rise, and that's that's driving prices up. With a median price around $340,000 and very few houses on the market at all at $250,000 or less, it's a real crunch, especially for people in that first-time home buyer segment. One thing in the latest Realtor report that really stuck out to me was there are fewer than 1,000 houses for sale priced at $250,000 or less throughout the entire 16-county Charlotte region. That's a very small number of houses in that starter market, especially compared to historic norms. So it's really tough for people who are not already on the property ladder to get a hold of that first rung right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about it. I mean, you think about what that entails in order to go get that first time, house. You got to have a down payment. You have to have a lot of money set aside for that. You hear all these anecdotes, people going out looking for those houses, those few that do exist, and say that 250, 300 price range, and those are they're being, snapped up like hotcakes. They go very quickly. Sometimes you need to put in extra money, waive your due diligence. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. So there's definitely a lot. It's a real struggle.
Danielle?
And it's not the majority, but Eli, you reported extensively on the issue of investors buying up houses, but it is a larger percentage of those lower priced houses. And so you've got competition. If you're a first time home buyer, you're competing not only with other first time home buyers, but also with Wall Street that has the ability to come in and offer cash essentially on the spot.
Yeah, I mean,
and that is a factor. You've got, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so let me just back up for a minute and say, growth has been the single defining issue in Charlotte since I've been here, and that's a pretty long time. And so what we're seeing is growth, right? We're seeing supply being outstripped by demand, and I don't want to minimize the difficulty of somebody coming in and trying, as you say, to get that first rung on the real estate ladder. But it would be a whole lot worse if we had the opposite problem, wouldn't it? If we had the real estate market just going completely out and all these properties just sitting there and nobody there. Now, obviously you want to be somewhere in between, but I think this is still a function of Charlotte's growth, and we're not the only ones with inflated real estate values right now. I think we ought to keep some perspective on it and see if this is a measure of how things continue despite the COVID slowdown to be growing here. And it's a problem, but it could be worse.
Yeah, I've always said the problems of growth are preferable to the problems of decline because, you have more resources, hopefully, to solve them. But I think it's also worth looking at over the past, decade and a half since 2007, we've been through a huge foreclosure crisis and plummeting real estate values. And now we're at the opposite, a huge supply crunch and skyrocketing real estate values. And I think there's a lot of whiplash, especially for people who have been here through that time and have seen, everything change, seesaw from one extreme to the other. If you look back just about 7 or so years ago, the median home price in this region was half of what it is now. So that's a really huge change in a short amount of time. And for people who maybe moved here and started renting, thought this was going to be an affordable option for them to get their start, it's really changed pretty dramatically in the past few years.
And one of the things that's really interesting is that, a lot of people say, oh, well, in Charlotte, you have all these apartment complexes going up. And that really didn't slow down that much during COVID. And it's still taking off like gangbusters. The amazing thing is even with all these new apartment towers and new units coming on, all over South End, we see a whole bunch down in Valentine, South Park, University. They're all over the place. It's still not enough really to keep up with the influx of people who are moving here. The rents are still going higher. So yes, we're building a lot, but it's hard to keep pace with the growth.
Yeah, and I would think all that rental growth ultimately leads to folks who move on from rental to that first-time house purchase. And so I guess we have a lot more folks that potentially will be looking for homes in the future, as they move from becoming renters to becoming home buyers. It's not just the shortage of homes, it's the influx of folks that are looking for those homes as well, I guess. Danielle?
Yeah, it all kind of feeds into each other. I mean, when people are locked out of the housing market, they're going to stay in the rental market more. And then, you have more demand for rental housing. And as I said, there's not enough rental housing for everybody coming here. So that pushes up prices in the rental market.
Right.
So it's all a cycle.
Yeah. Well, collectively, I guess we can feel good. Tied with us at number 10 on that top 10 expense list are Austin and Denver, other hot markets, other places that are experiencing the same kind of positive growth that we are. Collectively, we can feel good, but if you're trying to buy a house, it doesn't feel good at all right now. It's a tough market, obviously. I want to talk about City Council for a few minutes. Danielle, you did a story, an interview this week with Tariq Bokhari, one of 2 Republicans on City Council. And the interview, while it was kind of a profile of him, it kind of opened the door and, the window to what I guess is a lot of personal versus political differences and headbutting on City Council. You want to talk a little bit about maybe the change of tone on City Council among members who don't seem to get along very well, both on the dais or in person, I guess?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting to go back to when Tariq was first elected back in 2017. You had this millennial city council majority. It was profiled in the Wall Street Journal. It was sort of this, bringing about change, and everybody thought that, they were going to work together across party lines. And at the beginning, there were some things that they did for that. They worked to kind of bring more transparency to meetings and things like that. Of course, Tariq has worked extensively in economic development with his colleagues. So it's interesting to look at, when they were first elected in 2017, and most of those members are still on council, except for one. But, that has sort of begun to break down, and first started with the RNC, bringing the RNC to Charlotte and some of those divisions. And now, of course, the 2040 plan, which I think has really highlighted those divisions as well. It's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, people are personally attacking each other in meetings. Recesses are being called. It's tense, and I don't know how they're going to work together past even though the 2040 plan is over. Now that all of these conflicts have been exposed.
It's a dysfunctional family.
Are we talking about Congress? Should we talk about the state legislature? Are we talking about city?
I think that factors into it, though.
Politics. Yeah, exactly. It's politics the way politics are now. And personally, I think it's unfortunate. Let's have civil discourse. Let's agree to disagree and all of that. But I'm not surprised that it filters down to the local level. All politics are national or local or whatever it is. They all run together.
Tony, the legend talking.
One of the things about local government, I think, one of the things about local government has always been sort of distinctive is, people always say, well, the city government, it's not, filling potholes is not a Democrat or Republican issue. We can agree on some things and reach across the aisle. You are seeing a lot of this, this fracture sort of taking place in some of these issues, like the 2040 plan. We're going to have one coming up on the non-discrimination ordinance. That's going to be very interesting to watch. There are all these issues now. Certainly, in the past, you had HB2. You had all kinds of different things, that they've disagreed on over the years. So a lot of that, it does seem like it's filtering down. But I think to Mark's point, it's always, it's sort of always been that way. There's this sort of romanticized vision of, there was a great time when, they would argue on the merits and then go out for a beer afterwards and everybody was friends. I think that's a little bit maybe glossy, with hindsight. But certainly, we're having some robust debates here locally.
Yeah. Tony.
Yeah, and I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's difficult to say how much of this is attributable to national politics and the wrenching racial protests we've seen and all those really big issues that have come to the surface and disrupted everything from national politics on down. It's tough to separate how much of this is from that and how much of it is from this group of people just not getting along that well as a group of 11 people plus the mayor. There are just some real personality conflicts that are apparent if you're watching. And as Tony was saying, in the old days, at least I think there was some facade of that. They would tell you that kind of thing. Now, as we saw in Danielle's story, at least some of the city council members are done with that. They are willing to just straight up say, I don't like that guy, in so many words. And that is a change, having that in the open.
Yeah. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know that you can fix it. It does feel like a dysfunctional family, and I don't know if therapy is called for here or not. But politics has always been kind of a genteel game in Charlotte, not so much anymore. And maybe that's just because all of that is exposed now through social media and other platforms that didn't exist back in the old days. A couple other quick items I want to touch on. American Airlines expanding at Charlotte, 3 extra gates, hundreds more employees, maybe by the end of the year. I guess that's good news in general for the tourism business and, for all those businesses that depend on tourism, right?
Tourism, but it's Charlotte's industry. I mean, I think the airport is really maybe the single biggest driving factor in ongoing growth here. So it's getting back to, it's not back yet to where it was in 2019, but it's getting back there. And having traveled some in the last couple months, I'm telling you, Charlotte's airport is busy.
Yeah.
And I can't say the same for others. Even Chicago's airport, O'Hare was busy, but a lot of others are still pretty hollow. And so I think it's a good thing for Charlotte.
Yeah. It's that whole concept of growth. If you're not growing, then that's bad news, not good news. Hey, the Rolling Stones were supposed to come last summer, are coming this fall. Another sign that we're getting back a little bit to normal. But gosh, Mick Jagger's 78 years old. Good. I hope he makes it by September 30th. That was, I guess, a big concert news, and we've seen a lot of other live events coming back to Charlotte slowly but surely on the entertainment side. We're kind of out of time, folks. Love to talk more about that and some other topics, but there's always another show, and that'll be next week. Hey, I want to thank the group for joining us this week remotely, and thank you for joining us at home. Again, if you have questions or comments about the show, you can always email us here at Off the Record at WTVI.org. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time right here on Off the Record.
A production of PBS Charlotte.